The reason I say liberals always win on a serious note is it is the inevitable consequence of society evolving and going to our basic, good, decent nature. When I say liberals always win, in the beginning, for example, conservatives wanted to preserve slavery, and the liberals ultimately won that. It took a long time, but they ultimately won. Conservatives wanted to preserve segregation. The liberals won. Conservatives fought in America against Social Security. The liberals won. Now, if you talk in America about taking away senior citizens' Social Security, you're un-American. Don't you dare do that. You know, your grandmothers would revolt. Conservatives fight against the environmental movement. Conservatives fight against women's rights. You know, we may wind up now with a woman president. Conservatives have fought against gay rights. Now we have gay marriage in America. So, in the beginning, it always seems like, oh, liberals, they're protesting, what are they doing? But in the end, we ultimately win, and it's not because those of us who are liberal are brighter, smarter, and all that. It's just because we happen to be on the side on what human instincts really are. See, I think basically we're all good, decent people. If we would simply have our politics reflect what our mothers told us in the 3rd grade, we would always do the right thing. Because what does your mother tell you? Share your toys, be nice. If one of your friends needs help, let's help that person. In other words, on 9/11, the most horrific thing that happened in the lifetime of your generation for Americans, in terms of what happened to the country, when the planes ran into the World Trade Center. Do people rise up, at least for the first few months, and whatever we have to do, we're going to do? And in America, we said, we will spend whatever it takes. I mean, we started a stupid war. So what I say is this. The odds of anybody leaving this earth because they happen to be in a building that gets hit by a plane is about, 20 million to 1? But the odds of leaving this earth because of a disease or an accident is almost 100%. So if we know what ultimately is going to get us in the end, the real enemy is disease and bad health and stuff like that, why would we not be willing to spend whatever it takes to protect Americans from something they really are going to die from? Then all of a sudden it's, that's expensive. I don't know. I don't want my taxes raised. I don't want to have to do that. Now, beyond that, we can compete. Some of us will have bigger cars, bigger houses, whatever. But the basics, you should be able to eat, you should be able to get a doctor, you should be able to get educated. That is a guarantee. Now, that's liberalism. Nobody makes it on their own. Nobody. There's not one person in this room that had anything to do with the decision to be born. You weren't involved with the decision to be born. You had nothing to do with the decision to whom you'd be born, in what country, in what era, with what kind of a brain, what kind of health, what kind of environment. That you had nothing to do with. 99% of what we are, we had nothing to do with. So I could take, let's say, Bill Gates, perhaps the most successful American by the standards by which we judge success. Financial, he's brilliant, a great businessman, very compassionate, very charitable, perfect, okay? Bill Gates, boy, what success. If he were born in Ethiopia, he would have been dead at the age of 5. Who wouldn't do everything they possibly could so you could feed your own children? One of the reasons politics becomes dishonest, it becomes intellectually dishonest before it ever becomes financially dishonest. And what I mean by that is, if you're making your living by the salary you get running for office, then you have to win the next election because you have to feed your family. You're 45 years old, you've been in office for 20 years, and oh my gosh, if I lose the next election, I'm out of work, and I'm 45, it's going to be hard to find another job. I won't find a job at this salary. What are we going to do? So all of a sudden you start compromising your positions, not because it's a good idea to compromise that position, but because you want to get reelected. And so you're no longer saying what you really believe. You're saying what you have to do to feed your family, which is an understandable pressure. But that makes politics dishonest. And that's why you have all these politicians saying whatever they have to say to get elected, because their career is more important than anything else. That's why I don't want politics to be a career. See, I would argue for Hillary Clinton, it's a passion. It's not a career. She certainly doesn't need the job. So I don't, and secondly, it's different than when you run for president, you ought to have experience in government. That doesn't mean, that's a separate issue of whether or not you should be a career politician. I want you to have some experience so that you know what you're doing when you take over the largest, biggest government in the world. Thank you so much for having me.